this time, knowing what I know, because now I'm teaching the masses, I'm like, I know how I need to come. I need to secure her in terms of my intentions. Then that's where the marriage part comes in.
Yep.
So she knows I'm not playing no games. I got now the financial pieces there. So she already ain't working, but before Soft Life was cool, I was like, I don't want her to have to worry about anything financially.
Yep, she said that.
I'm all in.
Financially, she was good.
Yeah, financially, because, another pain point was I saw my mama struggling. And I always felt like if a man was here, she wouldn't be, how she is, tired all the time and gone all the time. So 2 things I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to be a present father, and I wanted to take some weight off of my lady's shoulders.
All righty. Listen, guys. Oh, baby. Listen, talking to you guys, obviously, about Derek Jaxn today. We are dealing with his interview, part 1, on the channel with the dear future wifey. We're going to try and be here for an hour. I'm going to try my best, okay? I'm going to try my best, all right? But we're going to break it all the way down so you guys can get a better understanding of what happened in that interview. I think my overall thoughts of this interview, pretty decent, and I loved, the fact that there was some transparency and there was some truth being involved, and a lot of his story corroborated with Danae Jackson's interview as well. So because we have now both their stories, we can now see for what it actually is. I think number 2, something that I noticed in the comment section of Dear Future Wifey, I don't know if there are people that are usually there or not. Something I noticed on the Shade Room, something I noticed even on his own post on his page, is the amount of people saying that they don't like the fact that Dear Future Wifey gave him a platform to discuss his truth. And I'm like, yo, I think this is a perfect platform to give his truth. I think this is perfect. I think we should be giving people this kind of platform because we need to hear some truths. And it's okay, look, the reality of the situation is he's a big individual person who's done some crazy things. And we want to hear what his story actually is. And so if we get to have that in a controlled environment where someone can ask him some really great questions to really unearth some of the truths, I'm happy with it and I'll take it. I think sometimes as Christians, we can get a little bit too religious. And we try to, this is our thing. And it's like, yo, relax, man. You're doing too much. Okay. All right. Nobody's going to die if we have, Derek Jaxn on the platform. It's like, oh, he's going to dilute the platform. Come on, guys. Come on. But yeah, no, I think the interview itself, well conducted. I love the questions that were asked as well. And, there was good questions that were answered. I think there was, I have in my notes here, quite a few of the questions that were asked as well. And I'm like, yo, it was good. I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I can't lie, yeah. So I'm not really mad at it, yes, I did see the little jab. I think the jab is because there's a prior incident that was happening, right? So the prior incident that happened, there's a prior incident that happened with the Derek Jaxn and Dear Future Wifey, because he believes that Dear Future Wifey was a little bit of a copy of what he used to write on his page, that he used to write a Dear Future Wifey post or whatever, and he believes that maybe that Latiria stole that from him as well. So I can see that as well. Yeah. So for me personally, that's that. But yeah, no. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. Whether it's true or not, I don't give a damn. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I think we're all, I think we've all got ideas that if you don't take, someone else will take it from you. You know what I'm saying to you? That's my reality. I think also with Derek Jaxn, I think one of the key things that I've noticed with him is the fact that I think he's not at the space just yet where the remorse, the consequences, the emotional intelligence has all caught up with each other when it comes to what he's actually done. I think the therapy is getting him there, but I don't think it's happened. I don't think that's got to that stage yet. I don't think it's got to a stage where he's got to a place where he fully grasps the weight of what he does. I know he speaks a good speak, but I don't hear it in the voice. Like I don't hear it in the remorse. I don't hear it in the tone. I don't hear it in the language per se. You know, I didn't hear that in what he said. So he said some things, but every time he said some things, the way that he would kind of bring her back in told me that the work hasn't been done yet. So the work hasn't been fully done. He's got a therapist, by the way. He's got a therapist. I'll give you the clips and everything as well. Apparently, he's got a therapist now. He's working with and stuff. But it's very similar to what I felt about Danae. These are two sides of the coin. Okay, that's what I'm going to say it again. Danae and Derek Jaxn are two sides of the same coin, right? They exhibit their traumas in different ways. And unfortunately, one is a bigger culprit than the other. I agree. One is a much bigger culprit, and that is definitely Derek Jaxn, a bigger culprit. But they are two sides of the same coin, right? We had Danae come on, tell us the truth about what happened, and then try to sell a $5,000 course to get money. I just want you to deep that, right? Let's not forget that part, okay? And then the other part, we got Derek Jaxn, who I believe is also repairing his brand, but it hasn't hampered him that much because most of his business is not online. Most of his business is not through YouTube, right? Most of his business is not through YouTube; it's through his other businesses. So I don't think it's hampered him that much. But in reality, it's not about that business; it's about the reputation. It's about the good name. And I feel like even though he's come on here and he's been quite open about what he feels and what he's done, listening to the language of how he said on what he did, I'm like, I don't know if you fully grasped it 100% what you did. And I think also when you talk about, he almost sometimes tries to level the playing field, right? At points. And for me, that tells me that I don't know if there's fully, if you fully kind of got through to that place where you realize just how deep the situation actually is. So that's my premise at the very beginning. But before we go anywhere, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for the notifications if you have not done so already. Click on the bell button, baby. Okay, if you haven't done so already, like it, share, and subscribe. Okay, and for those of you who are returnees, okay, you know what to do, baby. You got the minerals. You got the minerals. Stay hydrated because streets out there are hot. All right, the streets out there, they are God. Okay, are God. They are hot. Sorry. All right, let's get back into this. I want to start from the very beginning. I'm going to try and go through some of my earlier notes and so hopefully I can explain it a bit more better. And I'm gonna speed it up, so that's why he's gonna speak so fast, guys. I speed it up so we can get through more, okay? Because having it on the normal energy, it belong to you, baby. All right, let's get it. Okay, cool.
It's all about having a man's side no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter if we're wrong or what have you. And I think personally it's created a generation of coddled men that can't take correction from anybody, no matter how soft it is or balanced.
Hold on. Pause.
I felt like you were pandering to Black women for your benefit. What would you say about that?
Well, we kind of have this bro code, and it's got us in the chokehold. You know, and the bro code is all about having a man's side no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter if we're wrong or what have you. And I think personally it's created a generation of coddled men that can't take correction from anybody, no matter how soft it is or balanced it is. So when I'm saying all of this, you know, of course, there's different layers to it. Some of them think, oh, it's because he wants vagina, because he wants money or what have you. But man, I was raised by a single mother around two sisters. Naturally, I lean towards the woman's point of view on things. Anything else would be disingenuous. And it's not that everything that I'm saying is necessarily right, but it's how I see things. And then if you take from that, just say, you know, your interview with Danae, you were speaking in a way that was protective as a brother, you know, empathetic. You was calling wrong. That wasn't you pandering.
Right.
You know, you like per the situation that you're speaking on, this is the truth.
Right.
But whenever you're telling the truth that makes people uncomfortable or a truth that's not popular, they're going to look for a way to attack you either way it go. I can respect.
Okay, cool. So first things first, this is where I wanted to start off with. First and foremost, right? I want to say this. I want to be able to say this, right? First, I want to say this. For me personally, looking at Derek Jaxn, his content, all right, as I've said to you, I remember being in a similar place as well at a point in time. But Derek Jaxn is a man. First and foremost, he's a man. So when all your content is like a big brother to a younger sister, I'm totally with that. But then where is the explanation of how the men think? Where is the explanation of how men maneuver when it's not negative, or when women get it wrong, or when women don't understand? And it's, where is the balance? That's what I'm looking for. Where's the balance? That's what essentially I was looking for with Derek Jaxn. Whenever he gave his content, there was a lack of balance, and there still is. And so it's always, it's so you're always going to be called out for pandering because you're a man. If you were a woman, it would have been fine. They would have not said nothing. But because you're a man, every time you create content that always speaks, well, I had a single mother and I had a sister, so my content's always going to be from their angle. But their angle is, but you are a man, though. So there should be some aspects or two where you're able to give a perspective where it's like, okay, ladies, look, whilst I said this is how men are. So the reality of the situation is you don't want to do that. And the reason why is probably because, one, you've understood how it makes money. Number two, it would mean changing part of your audience, which again relates back to money. But number three, also the fact that, you know, maybe you're not really being honest about how you actually feel, which is what's translating into your actual relationships, where you're not being truthful about what you think and feel, right? You're acting and performing again. So that's where I'm having some issues with Derek Jaxn, and he still doesn't understand that, okay, maybe I'm pandering. And now here's a bigger issue for him. Now you've created the monster of this man who should be X, Y, Z, right? You've created a brand where you're like X, Y, and Z. So this man should be perfect. He should be Superman. How you've described the man that these ladies should be going for is you started describing Superman. And guess what? Now they're going to hold you accountable to Superman. And guess what's going to happen? You can't do it, right? You now can't do the very thing that you said that a man should be. Do you know why? Because there's no such thing as Superman. There's only Clark Kent. And even Clark Kent has his limitations. And the reality of the situation is now you are being judged by your own words. This is what the Bible says. You be judged by your words and condemned by your words, right? But you're now being judged by the standard that you place on the women to say they should look for in a man. So now you can't cry when you're on the internet and you're on Shade Room, which I saw. You're on Shade Room and you post a comment saying, well, when a man gives his explanation, which I think is very true, when a man gives his explanation, you know, he's not being accountable. But when a woman explains herself, you know, we kind of clap for her. That's what basically was saying, in the sense of he's saying that men don't get no grace. But sir, at what point did any of your content give men grace? At what point does any of your content give men grace when you're always explaining it as if men are the villains or men are bad? Right? You get what I'm saying to you? You can't then complain, okay, about the level of not grace women are going to give you when you created that standard for yourself. See, if you had given a balanced perspective, say, hey, sometimes guys ain't great, sometimes women ain't great. You know, that guys, the reason why guys might do something because this, if you don't do that, then guess what happens? Now you're judged by the very monster you created. So you can't cry about it. And this is when I realized you still haven't learned. Because you still haven't learned. See, now you want to come on a platform, Dear Future Wifey, and you now want to explain why you are the guy who you were talking about. But because you never created that space on your platform, right? Because you never created that space on your platform, guess what? There's now irregularities, and now people are going, wait, hold on. It's a bit confusing. Right? It's a bit confusing. You feel what I'm saying to you? So now you're saying about these men are coddled, and you know that you know your reason why you talk like this is because the bro code and that men are coddled. But the reality of the situation is that's not why men are calling you out. See, if you were giving women the game, let me be real with you, right? Let me be real with you. If you were giving women the game, some men would cry, but they wouldn't be frustrated. The biggest issue that a lot of people have with people like yourself, Derek Jaxn, and Steve Harvey, is that you don't just give the game, you also give the woman's perspective without really balancing it oftentimes. Now, you might do it here or there, but often your content becomes very one-sided, And it's very much like the men become the fault. And so when now you're at fault, guess what's going to happen? People are going to look at you the same way. You created an image in these ladies' head that the men usually are at fault. So what's going to happen? They're going to look at you and be like, you're at fault. Right? So for me personally, I'm watching it and I'm going, okay, Derek Jaxn, I'm hearing you, I understand. But even when you're talking, we're still in coach mode. Yeah, still in coach mode, right? If we just go back, so I just want to just back into it. All right.
Respect that. I asked you, I said, Derek, if you were given the opportunity,
let's just
lean towards the woman's point of view on things. Anything else would be disingenuous. And it's not that everything that I'm saying is necessarily right, but it's how I see things. And then
why does he only see it from a woman's perspective? I know he grew up with single mother. I know he grew up with a single mother. I know he grew up with his sisters. But why does he only see it from a woman's perspective? See, let me be very real with you now. Let me be very real with you. I told you I had the same issue when I first started YouTube. I saw things from a very woman's perspective because I'm very much in tune with my emotions. That's why women can often identify. But when it gets to a certain point when you can only give a woman's perspective, you have to start asking yourself a real question. Are you actually being true about what voice you have? See, if I'm really a male and I'm really a man, I'm going to disagree with women because we're going to see things completely differently. We have to. As a woman and a man, we see things differently. So if I'm really being balanced on my channel, there are going to be times where ladies are going to say something. I'm going to be like, no. I don't see it that way. This is how I see it. And if women are really women, when I say something, they're going to be like, oh, no. We see you, but no. That's not it. So in reality, if you can't give perspectives, right? If you can't give perspective of the male perspective, are you really giving a balanced equation? Number one. Number two, are you really doing this genuinely, or are you now understanding that you have a market and you're trying to sell? See, one of the hardest things for me, even doing YouTube, kind of going through my revolution and the evolution of this channel, was I started getting scared. I remember one day I got scared. I said I got so scared because one day I remember I spoke about Married at First Sight, and I was talking about Paige, and I disagreed with the ladies about Paige. And because I disagreed and I said I don't really find her attractive, I got labeled a colorist. You don't like black women, And I suddenly got scared. I was like, whoa, right? Because remember, in my head, I'm thinking this is a business. You know, I rely on you guys. I have to be honest, you rely on the people. If maybe I shouldn't say some stuff like that. Maybe I shouldn't say some harsh stuff because it's too much. You know, I shouldn't say it. I don't want to lose my audience now. Like, I don't want to be, you know, You do start thinking that, right? But after a while, I was like, yeah. Yeah, if they're here, they're here. After a while, I'm like, if they're here, they're here. If they're not, they're not, they're not. Do you know what I mean? Like, and even I'll be honest and very honest and be frank with you. You know, I remember me and Sean had a conversation, and I said to Sean, I really needed Sean on the channel because a lot of the times I'm always trying to foster understanding, but I had a lot of women on the channel. Whenever I had panels, it was mainly women. And let me tell you something, I'll be real with you. I remember when we had our panels before the second group of panels, before Jay, Sean, and my first group of panels, we had predominantly women. And sometimes we would disagree, but I try not to be too antagonistic. I don't want to be too. But you notice there were some parts where I would go a bit wild and I'll go on a rant. You know, there'll be parts that you see it kind of creeps out. But the reality was, I always tried to be more understanding and try to keep a collective. But the reality is, I don't agree. But you have to not be afraid to say that you don't agree, right? But it gets scary at a point in time, like because you start thinking, I don't want to, I don't want to create mayhem. I don't want to create dissension. I don't want to like I don't want to cause issues. That's how I was thinking because I didn't really have a voice. See, even in the midst of that, I didn't really believe in my voice. I was afraid that if by having a voice, I'm going to upset people. It is what it is. That's where I need DJ to get to. I need Derek Jaxn to get to a place where it doesn't matter if you upset the women when you say something that is true for men, right? It doesn't matter. You cannot always be agreeable. You cannot always say something that someone's going to like. You get what I'm saying to you? So I understand the difficulty of having to shift that. And maybe because he got such a large platform so quickly, maybe that also hampered him a little bit. Who knows? But you know, it can be difficult, and I understand that. All right, let me go to the next point, because I spent way too long on that point. You know, it wasn't even the main point, you know what I mean? So that wasn't even the main point, but let's have a real thing. My next thing is I think he talked about pornography and sex and everything as well. So let's have a look.
And if you take from that, just say, you know, your interview with Danae, you would.
Let's go a bit forward. Here we go. Okay, cool.
Alabama, well, between Elba and Enterprise, Alabama.
Enterprise, Alabama.
Shout out to Alabama right now. You know what I'm saying? We ripping kind of hard. Montgomery be having sex. I ain't gonna lie to you. It just felt like a rite of passage. You know, because at 15, 16 years old, you still trying to define yourself, be accepted. So this whole time, I wasn't necessarily tripping on sex, but when it came, I wanted to perform. And I went in, you know, develop. But the reality of how I developed my relationship with sex actually started probably with pornography. That was about 10, 11 years old.
Who introduced you to that?
I won't say his name, but my homeboy.
It was a homeboy.
Back in Elba, Alabama. He introduced me. Matter of fact, I think they were just introducing computers into the school. I'm old. Just introducing computers. So this is before they had firewall and all that stuff. And man, he told me to go on the website, and I went on the website. And from there, man, I won't say addicted, but I was definitely introduced to something way too early.
What do you remember that doing? Because a lot of people don't understand how pornography shapes the viewpoint of how men see or objectify women. And I had a conversation with, you know, even my sons, you know what I'm saying? They be online, they'll end up something pop up on these gaming stuff. And I was like, hey, this is why you shouldn't do this. No one ever had that conversation with me as a young man. And I had a family member that had magazines, you know, and I seen them a couple of times when I was like 12, but I just never did like get involved in it. So my question to you is,
make me feel less rejected if I ever felt that. So, you know, starting there, of course, it rewires your brain, it desensitizes you and stuff like that. It also miseducates you on what real intimacy is. So it took me well into my adulthood, actually until, you know, I was married, to understand that it's not about performance-based, you know, whenever you're having sex with a woman, it's connection-based. So I went, you know, even having sex in the earliest years, it was about, you know, the theatrics of what I could perform and so on and so forth, man. But especially if there's serious feelings involved, you may leave a woman feeling like a piece of meat when she can tell you wasn't even there with her. So not only that, in the times where I wasn't having sex, again, that was my easy out. Like, okay, I know I got porn, you know, I got this, that, and the other. And I wasn't on there like 4 hours a day or nothing like that. But I developed some nasty habits of when I'm really, really stressed or hurt or grieving or whatever. I can do this and then go to sleep, or I can do this to get my mind. I can break the pattern by doing this.
All right, cool. So really interesting as well, listening to him, because I think I clocked where. So, first one, I want to say this. The first part, I think, which is really interesting, I think, for the Derek Jaxn situation, is listening to him talk. He does a very interesting thing, right? So he does something really interesting. So instead of teaching through his own experience, he distances himself from the coaching. So when for instance, when in this situation, he said about how, you know, pornography, it found its way into his relationship, and then even when he was married, he was still struggling with the idea of it and how it affected him in the marriage, right? Really great. Then he goes on to coach and he goes on and says, you know, for women, it's like, you know, it's not about the performance, it's about the connection, it's about And the tone and the wording that he uses is what I feel there's an issue with, right? Because I feel like that's where he needs to get to, breaking that vulnerability. I think that still there's a guard up there. There's still that need to feel like you're not inadequate if you start showing your vulnerabilities. It's almost as if I have to coach in this moment, because if I don't coach, then am I as good as I really am? Or would I be as loved or adored, or would I be cared for? I will lose my status if I don't talk about me specifically and only me. So it's a bit like when you're watching it, sometimes he drops these little gems. He's talking about himself, saying about how pornography's affected him, and he's got a therapist, and the therapist was explaining to him how it affects his intimacy. Great. He was really breaking it down, and I really liked it. Like, and I liked the way he was taking it apart. And then he gets to a place where it's almost as if something just kind of snaps again and goes, okay, I got to coach again in this moment and say, hey, you know, women, you know, they don't like the performance, they like the connection, but it's not just the wording, it's the tone. It's the coach tone. So it's like he never leaves the place of coaching, rather than just being, it's just about you, bro. It's just about you. It's just about your situation. You don't have to coach. But if you notice again once more, it becomes about women again. So he's still in this pandering mode and the cape mode, because it becomes about how women don't like this. And it's like, you can't even really deep it and say from you, keep it just to you, and not have to bring in anybody else in, or make it a coach session in that moment. Do you get what I'm saying to you? Right? So like he said, he's in performance rather than connection. And I feel like that is what he's doing, right? At that moment, he's still kind of performing. And it's hard to turn off performing when performing gets you the accolades, when performance gets you the adoration and the adulation. It's very hard to turn it off, because you know that's what always works. And you know that when you do that, someone's going to be like, wow, so big of you. You know, I see how, you know, I see how, you know, how brave he is. And then, you know, you're looking always for that kind of worship aspect, right? Because you're so great. But the reality of the situation is, it's okay to just sit in something and it's not great, and you're not great, and you don't look good. It's okay to sit in it. It's okay to sit in it. And I think that's very hard for him, because he hasn't been doing that for a very long time. He hasn't been okay with him being just him, because it hasn't gotten where he needed to be. But by performing, it's got him to be where he needs to be. And he spoke about the pornography and how it affects the intimacy and how that affects relationship as well. And I thought that was insightful to bring up to the situation too. You know, I mean, I thought it was insightful to bring. So yeah, definitely something that needed to be understood. Oh, shout out to Adriana Gomez for joining as well. Much love as well. We appreciate you for joining as well. But yeah, no, I feel like that was happening. Now, you know, I think he gonna need some more therapy sessions. He gonna need some more time being real with himself and sitting with self before we get to that place, you know. But yeah, I think that was an interesting part as well. Let's go a bit deeper. Oh no, if I can go here.
Into the homeless down by Peachtree. So, you know, she came in, I was still in church, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to pray. I was so scared.
You wanted to pray over y'all relationship.
I didn't know what I was doing. I never felt anything like that. I never felt like I really was in love, because I had a hard time letting people close to me, because I experienced a lot of loss. So I could engage. I'm an extrovert when it comes to meeting people and talking, but actually letting somebody in. She was the very first person outside of my family I had done that with. So man, we prayed by the lake. I led the prayer, and then we was like, all right, like, God, I need your help, because I don't know what I'm doing.
You said you were afraid.
Afraid.
Because you've never allowed yourself to open up like this with a woman before. You said you've experienced loss. When you say that, you're talking about what? Your father not being present? What other losses that you incurred?
Mostly my father, man. And then my grandmother was a tough loss. And I learned really with that. And everybody lost somebody, but I learned with that, I'm horrible at grieving. I don't do well with that. And I learned later on in therapy, it's because of how I internalized my father's loss. I had so much meaning I put to it, as far as like what that means for me. Like, I'm not worth calling. I'm not worth checking on. I'm not worth doing the right thing, so you don't have to be taken from me.
Yeah.
And then my mama, she had a thing that she would do from I'd say up to about age 7, where she would tuck me in and say, good night, Mr. B, because Bud was my nickname. And then mama got a boyfriend one time, and she stopped. And for me, I mean, it was dramatic, I guess, but I said, oh, she don't love me like that anymore, right? So now I grow up, and I'm really guarded. I'm really good at just going inward when I have something wrong with me, et cetera, and not letting people get too close. Even girls like, oh, I can smash, we could do whatever, we could talk, but I'm never going to give you my heart.
Yeah.
But with Danae, none of them guards stayed up. So.
This is mad interesting, this part. This is really interesting. I think him describing his lack of ability to connect and to also reduce the guard is a part of the reason why, even when I'm listening to him, I'm still hearing that tone where it's like, I know you're being real right now, but I can't hear the authenticity and the sincerity. I still don't necessarily hear it. It's the truth. I believe what he's saying right there and then is the absolute truth. I just don't feel the emotion of it all is connecting with his truth as of yet. I feel like we're still getting the coach tone, even when you're giving me your own truth. And that may be one way that he protects himself. That may be one way he also, creates a place where he's not going to have where he can control. You know what I mean? And so I don't think he's there yet emotionally. I don't think he's there emotionally enough to be able to give us that true authenticity where we get full sincerity. I don't think we're there just yet. I believe it's just truth. I'm not going to deny that at all. It's just that his survival mechanism is playing out like this, because when he describes the relationship in terms of how even with his mom and not necessarily being connected but being rejected, in those instances, I can see how in the moments where he describes about him going to pray with Danae and him being in church all the time at a point in time, what he's doing is the equivalent of the church person when they're talking Christianese, but there's no real depth to what they're saying. When that person who's grown up in church can't take the armor and the mask off, that's exactly what I'm hearing from Derek Jaxn. And so I wouldn't be surprised that he would have gone to church and was praying over Danae. And one thing he said, which he's going to say, and I don't know if it's got to that point yet, which I found very interesting. Yes, it's in the next few seconds. I'll play this part so you can actually hear. This part is very interesting. Listen to this part.
Well, I was scared because I know, I'm feeling something I've never felt before, and I don't want to mess this up. I know she's too good for me. So, God, help me become somebody I'm not, because I don't know what I'm doing here.
That is so important. When he mentions and says that I acknowledge that this woman is too good for me, and I know I'm not good enough for her. That is big language, because that is an insecurity. Look, you don't want to ever be in a place where you believe this person is too good for you. You don't ever be in that place. Now, the reason why he believes, I think, that she was too good for him is because she sensed her innocence. And he would have been aware of the darkness within himself. See, Derek Jaxn is a self-aware person, right? To some degree, he is, right? He's a self-aware person to some degree. So he would have been aware of his own darkness. And when he's meeting Danae, he's seeing someone who's more, quote unquote, and I put that in quote unquote, is presenting more innocently, right? And the fact that she probably was more trusting than he was in the very beginning of their interaction. So when you find somebody that is loving, caring, they are showing you affection, if you are unacquainted with love, if you are unacquainted with trust, if you are unacquainted with with relationship with people and giving your love to somebody, when you meet somebody who's going to give you all those things, unfortunately, rather than rising to the occasion, it can make you feel overwhelmed and small. And now you feel insecure. And in that insecurity, what do? Well, if you're insecure, you're trying to do things to overcompensate for your insecurity. And because no matter what that person does, they're always fighting an upward battle to prove to you that you're secure. Right? Now, we know that both of them had trauma. So we found out later on that, with Danae, she's going to shut down when he does certain things. And that's going to trigger the insecurity. But when you begin starting off by saying that you felt like she was too good for you, then that's already going to be a problem in the relationship. You're already in a deficit before you start. And so you're going to try and level up the playing field. You get what I'm saying to you? You're going to always be trying to level up the playing field. That's part of why the cheating is a part of leveling up that. It sounds mad, because why would cheating be a part of leveling up the playing field if you just felt like she was too good for you? Because by cheating, that's not you being good. But the reality of the situation is it leads to toxic behavior, because what you want, what you're really fighting is not them, it's you. you know? Yeah, so for me, you know, I'll be honest with you, you know, there is there's a lot that will happen to somebody when they feel that insecurity and they don't feel that love from a child, and they struggle to show love for themselves. They're gonna struggle to show up for you too. You know, insecurity, you don't ever see it on someone, right? Let's see. Let's have a look. Next point. Let's have a next point. All righty. Let's see if I can get up.
So during that time, you wasn't the type to be monogamous, was you? You just said
I didn't have no relationship to be monogamous in. I was doing my thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and so this one, you just said, why'd you want to give it all up for her?
I felt something with her I never felt before. But it was emotionally based. Looking back at it now, it's like, man, I was so unprepared. And for something like that, you don't know how important that role is. You gonna play in somebody's life where you're gonna give them your heart and they're gonna give you theirs.
Yeah.
You hand somebody the keys to your sanity, your physical health, and so many other things. But we were taught later, you know, if you love somebody, you just go be there. And you trial and error. And there's a high price to pay for trial and error, as we both learned.
So as y'all were dating each other in college, what?
And that's a key point as well. Remember I told you as well, that, you know, as a man, the scariest thing for men, one of the scariest things for any man, is when they give up their, when a man gives up their heart to someone, it's the scariest place for any man to be, because now you've given that other person access to you that you've given nobody else access to. That means a person has unrestricted access to your heart, your chambers of mind and your thoughts and everything as well. And that now becomes scary to you because now you're vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, a lot of men struggle because if we're not connecting emotionally and we struggle with being open and true about what we're feeling and thinking, when we give somebody the keys to the kingdom, we now know that you could hurt us in a particular way. And so what happens is, as the relationship gets to a stalemate, or rather should I say, once a relationship gets to a place where once the honeymoon phase goes away, and the reality of the relationship, reality of the relationship now in, you will realize that you don't have the control you once did. In fact, now the other person has some level of control over you, right? The person now has some level of control over you. And in that, the person now begins to try to do things to make themselves invulnerable. They try to do things to make themselves invulnerable to you. That's where the cheating comes in. That's where the I'm going to talk to other women comes in. That's where, you know, the distancing will come in. That's where the ignoring will come in. The cold shoulders, the harsh tones, the basically all the bad and toxic behaviors that people usually have. That's where it's going to come from, because it's fear-based. Once I fear you, I'm going to try and do something to try and wrestle back the power so I can feel invulnerable. I said this on Latirius Whitfield's Dear Future Wifey. I don't know if it will come out on that because I said it, we filmed it twice, I'm not sure. But one girlfriend I had, I told her, I don't need you. I kept on telling her, I don't need you. Right? I do not need you. And she looked at me and was like, why do you keep telling me that you don't need me? And really, I was trying to convince myself, because if I kept on saying I don't need you, then I won't allow myself to fall too deeply in this love thing, because that love thing, when you fall in too deep, I become too vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? I become too vulnerable. And when I become too vulnerable, at that point, you have too much control over me. And I don't like that. So I'm going to tell you, I don't need you. So if you ever decide you want to leave, you can do that. I don't need you. I'm also kind of prepping myself, right? I'm almost prepping myself ahead of time too, just in case you do abandon me. I'm like, well, I told you I didn't need you, so it is what it is. But the reality of the situation versus the heart of the individual person are two separate things. Let's talk about it. The reality of the situation versus what I'm feeling are two separate things. What's going to happen is two separate things. I'm going to say to you, I don't need you. I don't care if you leave or don't or stay, whatever, to try and make myself feel better in the hopes that, you know, I don't know what it does something to you. But the reality is, if you do then decide to leave, I can guarantee I'm going to feel it. Now, I may at first be like, no, I'm cool. It is what it is. When you're gone, I'm going to feel it right here. And if I don't feel it, that means if I don't feel it here, what's happened is I'm going to numb myself. I'm going to freeze the emotions that I'm feeling. And what's going to happen is someone else, through my expression of behavior, is going to receive what I should have been really dealing with in my heart. So I'm going to cover up what I feel, and I'm going to be sloppy, toxic, sexual, whatever I'm going to do out there to make myself feel better about how I'm feeling. Hence why a lot of men, when they break up, the first thing we try to do is get under someone. And I'm sure women have their own ways and they do their own thing. But as men, we will try to get under someone and be like, well, that's helping our process of healing, because what we're not trying to do is sit there and think about what we are feeling. That's too much effort, and that is far too much work, right? I'm definitely going to feel it eventually, but I don't want to deal with it right now, right? So going back to Derek Jaxn's situation, I understand where you self-sabotage and why you decide to go in pornography and why you go and cheat and do those things, because giving your heart out to someone is scary to a lot of men who have been hurt in their past. And if we have not dealt with the wounds and the pain we have, we don't know what balance is. We don't know what balance is. Right? Yeah. So, you know, in reality, we have to deal with ourselves. And so covering yourself up and trying to barricade yourself in and try to protect your heart when you're in a relationship only leads to more distance between you and the other person. Okay, you can't have a still heart and try to love someone. It's not possible. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. All right, let's go. Let me see my notes, because baby. All right, cool. Now, I want to just hold on. Did I get the thing? Hopefully I got it. Hopefully I got it. Actually, wait, hold on. This is really important too, because I felt like this is key information.
Your physical health and so many other things. But we were taught later, you know, if you love somebody, you just go be there. And you trial and error. And there's a high price to pay for trial and error, as we both learned.
So as y'all were dating each other in college, what that looked like? What grade were you in at the time?
I was a sophomore. Second year, she was a freshman.
All right, so sophomore and freshman, second year, and you were like, this is my woman. Were you exclusive with her during that time?
The first couple of months I was exclusive. I don't know if I ever had the proper boundaries, but for me, it was like, you know, of course, don't cheat. Don't go sleep with another girl. But I would say after that honeymoon phase, the first 2 months is when I can remember. I don't remember the exact thing, but I remember feeling really rejected by her. And I didn't know what was behind that because, okay, I don't have aggressive energy towards a woman except in intimacy. And so how I would express my affection oftentimes was aggressive. Like I want to pick her up. I don't just kiss her. I pin her up against the wall, put my hand around. I'm not trying to get graphic. There's context here. So I, come up behind her and hug on her, you know, kind of aggressive. But that would make her really, really shut down. And I didn't know what was going on. I felt rejected. Like, why you don't want to kiss me? My breath stink or something like that. So we would have, and not only would she shut down then, it would be tension. It would be almost hostile. So again, this wasn't until about a month and a half, 2 months in, where it's like now it's back-to-back things. Now I come up on the kiss her and she like kind of pushing away. She can't stay far enough away from me. She's kind of mean toward.
There's a part I missed. I wanted to just bring this part. I wanted to just listen to this part. Sorry, I missed the part.
And you were like, this is my woman. Were you exclusive with her during that time?
The first couple of months I was exclusive. I don't know if I ever had the proper boundaries. But for me, it was like, you know, of course, don't cheat. Don't go sleep with another girl. But I would say after that honeymoon phase, the first 2 months is when I can remember. I don't remember the exact thing, but I remember feeling really rejected by her. And I didn't know what was behind that because, okay, I don't have aggressive energy towards a woman except.
Okay, so this is really important, right? This part was important. I'm like, wait, we were exclusive, and then there was a honeymoon phase, but it was only 2 months. I wanna be honest with you. Okay, this is really important, and I'll tell you why it's important. This is where trauma plays a huge role in relationships. One of the most when you're carrying trauma, people can fall into love, lust, liking very quickly. Yeah, very, very quickly. When there is trauma that people are carrying, people can fall into when there's trauma that people are carrying, when there's a lack of boundaries which are happening. So for Derek Jaxn, there's a lack of boundaries here. Number one, with him, because obviously the emotional aspect, he never got the care from his mom that he needed, and his dad also disappeared. Never really had great boundaries because he doesn't even have to express himself. Doesn't even have to even say how he feels. Really and truly, he lacks the ability to be assertive in his language when it comes to his emotions, right? And there's a lack of boundaries in there. Then you've got also Danae too, who has just gone through, I mean, she talked about her dad's situation too. That was a problem. And then also spoke about her SA. And by the way, the SA was 2. It was not 1. She actually got assaulted twice. I say SA is rape. It was rape twice. Great. I should say grape, but it was grape twice, right? It was grape twice. So before she even gets into the relationship with him, right? They've both suffered in some way emotional aspects when it comes to creating safe boundaries for them to express themselves emotionally. So you got 2 people who are boundaryless or very poor in their boundaries finding each other. And what can happen is this kind of Hancock love, where it's like as soon as we get together, there's a storm. Suddenly the sun comes out and the rain comes out. And it's like this really fast, enveloped type of some really fast enveloped relational connection. You get what I'm saying to you? And it becomes a snowball really, really quickly. And the reality of the situation is because neither party is doing any vetting. See, the vetting usually means you slow down, but everybody's going past the checkpoints. Zoom, 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 going really quickly. The problem with this is the speed that you're going into it can also be the speed that you're going to come out of it. Right? The speed that you're taking to run into this relationship and go quickly. And I'm sure many of you can identify. You've been in relationships where, or you got with somebody and you quickly, quickly get into a relationship. You realize, oh, like we got into that fast. Like, when people tell their stories, like, whoa, you lot were into that thing quick. Why? Because both parties usually have poor boundaries. The boundaries also, the boundaries are in conjunction with checkpoints. This is where I check to make sure you ain't crazy and you ain't mad. But if I don't have a healthy relationship with myself, a healthy relationship with what I actually need, a healthy relationship in terms of what I'm looking for in a partner, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to speed right through because it feels right. And when emotions begin to lead rather than your logic, and I'm not saying emotions need to be taken completely out of it. I'm saying your emotions can't lead you here. You have to also be present to be able to see what are the things that I need. Logically speaking, that. But when you are allowing, it feels good. I'm feeling good. When you're feeling good and you're letting the feeling good lead you into that relationship, this is where things get really quick. But when you know that, oh, I've been here before, I can't. Yeah, I know it feels good, but hold on a minute. You said X, Y, and Z. I need to test that. Sorry. Oh, you said X, Y, and Z. Oh, I need to question that. right? You start questioning things, because once you become wise and you become experienced, you realize that your head has to lead, not your emotions. It's not that your emotions are not involved. They are involved. It's nice to have the emotions. You want to feel it as well, but you're also, as you're feeling it, you're saying, ooh, but let's park the bus here, baby. Okay. All right. I got to make sure. It's almost like, and excuse my no, I'm not gonna say, let me be unadulterated and unfiltered. It's almost like when two people get into the bedroom and y'all start kissing. You start touching, you start grabbing. It's getting to that place. Clothes now start flying left, right, and center. Y'all now naked, and you're about to do the deed, and someone's like, hold on. Have you got a condom? Now, why does somebody do that at that moment? Because they stopped allowing the emotion of what they were feeling in that moment to say, hey, there's a consequence to not actually being logical in this moment. If I don't get a condom right now, there could be a baby, there could be STIs. Hey, have you got a condom? Now, in that same way, it's the same thing that happens in relationships. There needs to be that, hey. Now, before you slip it in, I got to do some checks along the way of the relationship, because maybe you mad, maybe someone said it, maybe you're married, or I've got to do my checks to make sure, it's the same thing. Somebody has to go, let me wake up, because I was literally in, and the reason why I use sex as an example, because it feels so good when you're just kind of going through the motions, especially when you two are very chemistry. The chemistry is so fiery, and when it's so nice that you're not asking any questions, it's just flowing. You kind of just know where everybody's going. You know what I'm doing. You know what I'm doing. You know what you're doing, and we're just flowing. And before you know it, you've reached somewhere and sue. Now, when you were younger, you had more when you were younger, you might have been like, you know what? You allowed it to happen. You were thinking it, but you didn't want to say it, and it's like, it happened. It got there. When you get older and more, and hopefully when you become more wise and more experienced, you start to be like, hey, it's getting there, but woo, baby. Now that was hot, but you know what? We gotta stop. Let's make sure we got the protection in place. You get what I'm saying to you? Like, and the reason why that is because you stop allowing your emotions to lead you. You realize that logic has to come to play in it. So in regards to what he's saying, yes, logic has to play a part in it. But when he's saying they were in honeymoon for 2 months, as quickly as you got in is as quickly as you got out. And as soon as the honeymoon phase ended, your ass was cheating in the streets. She felt like she was, you now are now dealing with the realities and grappling with the reality of what hasn't been dealt with, which is the wounds. Yeah. As soon as she felt the honeymoon was over and that safety was gone, because that honeymoon usually gives you that safety feeling. It makes you, woo. And as soon as that feeling is gone and you have that come to Jesus moment, that, after you, post-nut clarity thought process now, like, whoa, where are we? What are we doing? Once you now have that post-nut clarity feeling after a honeymoon phase, you start to be like, whoa, now we got to start dealing with things really. And so those wounds that you were ignoring because the adrenaline and the cortisol was running through your veins, once that begins to wear off, you start to realize, I'm actually injured. You realize you're actually injured. So when she realized she's injured, and it's the egg or the chicken thing, which one came first? We don't know. But either way, whether he went out to cheat first or I'm not sure. But what I would say is that there's an aspect on both sides, right, coming into play. Okay, so that was really important. I thought that was a key part of their situation I wanted to address really quickly. Okay. Okay. Let's go mom's exclusive. All right, cool. Let's do this part here. Okay, so this was also, I feel like I had to drop this part because I think he didn't know about this until later. So this is also really important as well.
She you
didn't know nothing about it.
I didn't know about that till 5 years later.
Exactly.
I don't know if she wants to speak on it, so I won't go in depth, but there was another instance of rape in that same 30-day span before she met me. So I didn't know to the level at all that I was dealing with a rape survivor. Even if I knew that, I probably wouldn't have known how exactly to handle it.
That, yeah.
But certain forms, and we covered this later on in our marriage therapy, but because this was a pattern. Everything that happened that was really painful was really one long repetitive pattern.
Right.
Me feeling rejected for this, that, and the other, and she handles, becoming okay again a certain way. But I didn't know certain forms of affection that were natural to me just felt scary to her, put her back in a certain space where, certain things that happen. So yeah.
And that's so interesting. It's like, I'm getting understanding. It's like you have this woman who has experienced this huge violation of her body, her soul, her spirit, this brokenness. She meets this guy who she says she just loved the mess. She loved your dirty draws. You're wanting to show your affection.
Now, my camera went off. Sorry, guys, my camera went off. Hold on. So something really interesting happened here, right? Which intrigued me. And I'm going to say this. Something really intriguing happened in this situation, right? And the intriguing thing that, oh my gosh, the intriguing thing that happened here is the smirk on his face. I was kind of scared. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was hoping it's just one of those moments where, you shouldn't laugh, but you laugh. I was a bit like, oh, I was like, baby, please don't let it be. I was like, please don't let it be. Hold on. I'll play it again so you guys can see it. And I was like, yo, I don't like that, bro. Let me even try and zoom in a little bit so you actually can see it appropriately as well. Because it did make me a little bit concerned, just a little bit, I was like, hey, but I'm like, I didn't want to be too harsh on the man, because I understand sometimes when
and that's so interesting. It's like I'm getting understanding. It's like you have this woman who has experienced this huge violation of her body, her soul, her spirit, this brokenness. She meets this guy who she says she just loved the mess. She loved your dirty draws. You're wanting to show your affection. You grabbing about her neck. You being aggressive physically, from a sexual standpoint. She's getting nervous. She's getting triggered on all levels. Don't even realize that she's being triggered like this. She's closing up rejection to you because you've experienced that growing up.
Now, sorry, I had to just kind of sort out my camera. It will come back in a second or two. I will bring it back. But I was looking at it and I was like, why did he smile at that part? Like, it just felt a little bit weird. Like, I get that he said about the dirty drawers, but it's just like the smirk was a bit, I was a little bit like, this looks a little bit scary for me. I was like, hold on.
Standing. It's like you have this woman who has experienced this huge violation of her body, her soul, her spirit, this brokenness. She meets this guy who she says she just loved the mess. She loved your dirty draws. You're wanting to show your affection.
Yo, he really laughed. Like, he had to hold it in. And I wonder if, hey. Now, he only laughed at this point when he mentioned about the dirty drawers. So I want to give him a bit of grace. But when I saw it, I was like, yo, why that part? Like, I mean, he didn't laugh at any other part. Let me be honest with you. He didn't laugh at any other part. But maybe she did something, and that's why he reminded of the dirty drawers. Because maybe there's something that happened between the two of them that only they know, that he laughed at was like dirty drawers. Like, you know what? You don't even know what you're saying. Trust me.
And you grabbing about her neck. You being aggressive physically.
Here, that little smile there. Something happened.
From a sexual standpoint, she's getting nervous. She's getting triggered on all levels. Don't even realize that she's being triggered like this. She's closing up rejection to you because you've experienced that growing up. Mom no longer is kissing you and tucking you in bed at night. Rejection. So now you're like, well, now I'm going to go self-medicate. I have this history of looking at porn.
So that's my own thing. I was a bit like, yo, hey, Bedrin, why are we laughing at that point? That's what I want to know. Why are we laughing at that point? That's the only thing I was thinking to myself. You know what I mean? And it could be considered gloating. It could be considered him, just, him, I mean, personally, I think for me personally, I think it was something. I think something had happened. I think the dirty drawer. I think something happened with dirty drawers. It's funny, and you just kind of like can't say anything because it's happened before. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, I think that's what I'm believing. I'm gonna choose to believe that something good. It was funny. That's what I'm gonna do. Hold on, I'm gonna just turn my camera on, guys. Sorry, but I'm gonna choose to believe that it is to do with that situation. There we go. I'm gonna choose to believe that, you know, that was what it is, but I don't know. Okay, all right, that dirty draws. Who knows? All right, cool. Let me move it on because my time is running out quickly and it's fast, and there's not everything that's important. So let's break that down. Yes, okay. So they spoke about the cheating part. So let's break that down as well because that was important.
Back to it.
Nah, they didn't do that either. I don't even know if those particular girls knew we were together.
You walked around holding hands on campus.
Not all of them was on campus. Not all of them was on campus. Yeah, we talking. I'm trying to dig back because this is 15 years ago.
A long time ago.
But I remember. I don't know how she knew. I don't think the original one or two or whatever she knew about. But I know we had a falling out because her and her friend, she suspected or something. Her and her friend used to have this thing on Facebook called Honesty Box. And it was where basically you send anonymous messages or whatever. So her and her friend had set up to send me anonymous messages to try to see if I would bite on the bait of another girl trying to flirt with me or something like that. I would have this, and it's again pattern. I'm cheating, now I'm faithful. Now I'm cheating, now I'm faithful. So in this point, I was faithful. Yeah. You know, I'm like, oh, no more girls. I felt terrible. That ain't it. You know, we are made up or something. Like somehow we get to talking and we back in love again. So this Honesty Box message is coming in. I'm like, no, I'm good. Now I got a girl. And then I'm hearing ding in the other room. I'm at, we got an apartment here. Yeah. And I'm like, so I sent another message, ding, went into the room, her inboxes, and I'm like, oh. So we fell out. She suspected me of cheating at that point, but she wasn't right about that. Yeah. And then from there, man, it was kind of all downhill because we got into a really bad argument. And, you know, all this other stuff.
Well, she said that in the times where she would catch you back in college, she would never tell you anyway. She would go in the closet and cry, and then you'll come be like, hey, everything cool? And she'll be like, yeah, everything fine. Well, she'll say, it's my dad. I'm grieving the loss of my dad.
Yeah, that was a communication style, period. Without cheating, I may say something that offended her. I learned later on in therapy with her that sometimes my facial expressions while I'm listening would trigger her because I think her dad or something like had that going on. So a million things could be wrong with her, but then again, this dynamic of I'm begging for her to tell me what's wrong, and she don't. And I could take rejection maybe 1 or 2 days, but after 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months, now I'm starting to check out and detach without actually leaving. So it wasn't just the cheating that she wasn't talking about. She literally, if she had an issue, she held it in until she blew up.
She said that.
Now, this is really important because there were several things that were mentioned here, right? There were several things that were mentioned here. Number one, mention the fact that obviously Danae obviously, I call it the honey trap, set up a honey trap to try and catch him cheating. My thing is, what would she have done if she caught him cheating? Because if you already knew he was cheating, why wouldn't you approach him and say something? So you were never going to do anything about it. So what would be the point of the honey trap, right? But that's probably the state of mind that she was in, you know? So trying to do the honey trap, it doesn't work because he doesn't bite. But you know that he is cheating, but you don't say anything. And that's really interesting because to find yourself in a place where you're being cheated upon, you know you're being cheated upon, but you don't say anything, you can't even advocate for yourself. Right? You can't even advocate for yourself because you are afraid of being abandoned once more again. Her fear that if your fear of being abandoned becomes greater than your self-worth and self-esteem and even your health, then you will do things like this where someone cheats on you several times and you'll stay and you'll keep quiet. I remember back in the uni days, I went to university and I remember one guy, he was cheating on his girl about 8 or 9 times. Each individual time she found out and each individual time she went back. I said, what's going on? Why is it you can get cheated on 8 or 9 times and you'll keep going back? You know? So I was like, this is nonsense. You cheat on you 8, 9 times, you keep going back. And the reality is some people have a poor relationship with their esteem and their worth. And so they attach their esteem and worth to the man that they're dating. And so long as they have that man in their life, they feel some level of worth and esteem. And I feel like for her in that reality, saying something would bring it to life what she's actually facing. Right? Like, so remember, she had already had some trauma from her parental background already. You know, and so for me, you know, I see the situation with, I see the situation where, you know, she doesn't want to quit the relationship, but she wants to hold on to the relationship. And she can do that if she doesn't say anything. But by not saying anything, she's also condoning his behavior to say, well, you can do some more, because if I'm getting away with it, best believe I'm going to continue. And that's very true, Jay. That's very true. That's very true, Jay. Good point. Neither of them claim to be worthy of the other because of their own insecurities and because of what they had been through. So you're absolutely right. She was feeling some type of way because he's a jockey. He's the 6 foot something, hench dude, black dude, good looking, gets all the girls. She didn't feel adequate. He don't feel adequate because she's this innocent girl who is, you know, loving, affectionate, or caring in some aspects or whatever, holding him down, and now he don't feel ready for her either. You're absolutely right. Both of them. And if both of them have insecurities, they're probably going to overestimate themselves and try to overshoot. So absolutely. Let me see. Okay. Let me see this part I wanted to bring up, you know. Something that he said as well, that I wanted to bring in here. Okay. Let's bring this part here. I want to bring this part in as well, because I thought that this was really interesting. He read her quite well, and I was like, that comes from somewhere, right? But I thought it was really key to play this part.
Oh, so I had a nonprofit when I was in college. I wanted to tutor and mentor all this other stuff. So one of the things we did was we held events. I had a Christmas event that was like that previous December toward the end of college. And I had saw her and the gentleman, the young guy, speaking for like an hour. Now, up until this point, Danae had always like tried to kind of be perfect in my eyes. Like I think she thought if she ever showed a flaw, whatever, I would just leave or something like that. So I was like, this is bold, you know, at my events, like hundreds of people in there, but I can see her just chatting it up. So from December all the way until we graduated that late May or something like that, I had seen the cars together. I had seen all these different things.
Now, here is where it's really interesting, right? Because he said something key. He said, you know, up until this point, she had been she tried to be perfect in order to keep him around, because again, she's also performing too, right? Just like he's a performer, she's a performer. If she performs perfectly, then guess what? He will not cheat, or he will stay. But if she then doesn't perform, then maybe he will cheat, or maybe he will leave her. So she tries to the perfectional role and hoping that by doing that, she gets to keep him. But the reality of the situation is nobody's perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're adding way too much pressure on yourself. And not only that, by performing in that particular way, it's not being authentic, right? So the person on the other end also isn't getting the authentic you. Do you see? Right? So, but he has noticed that. But the reality of the situation too is that once you notice that as well, you potentially can take advantage of that person. I'm not saying he has just yet, but you potentially could. Right? So that's also a part we have to be aware of. But then it's interesting because of the way that he reads her. I didn't think he saw her as much of a threat, because if she hasn't done anything, again, you have to I'm going to be very much aware and conscious that if I know I got a good girl and she's not cheated on me or done what I've done, you're going to always see her in this particular light until the day she does something that is very dangerous to you, which is she does something that everybody else does, which is then she decides to get her lick back. All right, let's listen to this. Oh, crap.
And this is the coworker that she had.
Yeah, coworker, any classmate or something like that. So fast forward, and I'm thinking at this point, first off, we already coordinated where we're going to work after school. We're going to be in the same state, because I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. But at this point, I think it was really a lot of what she had been holding in, because I had been unfaithful. You know, I had cheated and all this other stuff. I think she never fully expressed herself on how that affected her. So at this point, I think it started bubbling up to where she got really hostile. Like, man, if I don't care what you say. So she's out overnight. It's like, I went to sleep at the gas station. I'm like, went to sleep at the gas station? Went out again overnight.
Oh, y'all were staying together?
We were staying together.
Okay.
We just started staying together, like, we were shacking up like year 2.
So he said, so she left the house and then come back the next morning?
So then like 9, 10 in the morning.
That's an important part too. They were shacking up early as well. So they were together, actually living together as early as this. They were doing way too much.
And this was unlike her. She was not this type of girl, but she's wearing makeup now. I know she got some hood rat friends from Sonic where she worked, and I know she hanging with them. But I'm like, what is she doing? I'm not sure who's involved. So she did that.
But did you hear how he described her friends from Sonic? He said she was chilling with some hood rat friends from Sonic. That is a very interesting description of the friends that she might have had from Sonic. Is that because you are degrading them, or is that because you see that there's a different level of class that she normally has with her friendships? What is it? But the fact that you labeled them hood rat really intrigued me. In that moment, I was like, wait, why did he label those friends hood ratish? Interesting. Yeah.
That 2 nights in a row. Then one night I came home. I forget where I was at. I wouldn't do it. At this point, I wouldn't do anything. Again, I kept going up and down. Came home in the shower. I came in just like me, bro. I'm very affectionate. My number one love language is physical touch. So first thing I do is get my kiss and hug. She's in the shower. I go right up in there. And while she's in the shower, she's wet. And she's like, and I'm like, what's up, baby? Kissed her, came on out, and the phone is on the counter with the messages up. And he's like, is he home? Can I slide? And I'm looking real quick and I see the name. She jumped out, wet, snatched the phone, and I was like, oh boy. Went to the living room. I searched the name on Facebook, saw some stuff. I was like, that's the guy that she was talking. So long story short, man, that was a big blow up, and we broke up. And then years later, I had heard from some people he was around about what actually took place. And that after we broke up, she had went and stayed the night, and they did whatever they did. And it wasn't until we were married, because we had this thing where, hey, tell every sexual experience you've ever had.
Yep.
Where we were married, and she finally, after he done died a couple months earlier, said what all had actually transpired.
So she admitted to it.
Well, she did. She said, well, she didn't have sex while we were together, but it was afterwards. Me, I'm like, it pales in comparison to what I did. I am not gonna get mad. Like, let's just keep it all the way G, so we can sweep this away and get on to the next chapter. But we had the direct answers. We broke up. We broke up because of that. Her and whoever, I didn't care. I moved on, did my thing, but we stayed in touch. And when she moved where she moved to, we kind of reconnected sexually.
She said that point. But first of all, let's go back to her personality, which is interesting, because I've come to find out that Naya said she used to be a fighter. She used to swing on people.
So interesting enough, I think, actually said, okay, that, she ended up cheating and doing her own thing as well, which is quite interesting. So he describes that situation where she did her thing. But as Jay's going to say, he obviously held that against her. He might not say it the way he did, but he definitely held it against her. And I'll tell you why he did. I've said this before. The person who has power in a relationship never likes when the power swings the other way. This is both men and women. Whoever held the power within the relationship does not like when the power swings the other way. See, for the person in power, your behavior is consistent and is predictable. That means I can rely and trust on you. That is why he stayed with her for so long, because he could predict her behavior. If he could cheat and she'll come back, he can predict her behavior. If I can cheat and you're going to come back again, you are predictable. You know what I mean? You are predictable. Now, of course, when she decides to do something very different and she doesn't do the predictable, and she then ends up getting with this guy, and I know he says, oh, it pales in comparison to what I did. I wouldn't have been vexed about it. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I hear that, but that's not what Danae said. See, now I'm going to take what Danae said. Danae was saying that, for her, you brought it up later on. You brought it up quite a few times, actually, right? So in reality, while you're saying it might not have been a problem, it became a problem. Right? Now, here's my thing. Did Danae really leave the phone out there? Did Danae really leave the phone out there carelessly? going by Danae's kind of being smart but being sneaky, do I really believe that Danae left the phone out there as a rookie mistake? Now, of course, yeah, she said she didn't cheat. She said she didn't actually sleep with the guy. He's saying that she actually admitted it at their counseling or whatever. So I don't know, but for me personally, I'm looking at Danae and going, you know, whether she cheated or not makes actually no difference. You may as well cheated. And that's the foolishness of this game that they both were playing and being stupid about. If you pretend to cheat, you've cheated. I know you want to call it something else, and I'm not talking about you, audience. I'm talking about Danae. But if you want to pretend you cheated, you cheated. That's the whole point of you pretending to cheat. That's why it's dumb. That's why it's stupid to do. Because the whole premise of the joke of cheating is to make the other person feel like you cheated. So when you turn around and be like, well, I didn't actually cheat, it's dumb. Because you actually were trying to convince the person of you cheating. So you want me to now believe you are pranking me? You might as well cheated. So it doesn't matter whether she cheated or not. You cheated. It's dumb. Don't ever do it. It's stupid. You know what I mean? It's one thing you just don't need to do. You've basically cheated. So whether you didn't cheat or whether you didn't sleep with him, it makes no difference now, because the whole thing was you were trying to create the premise that you cheated. So at that point in time, I'm going to take what you first gave me. I'm not going to believe it's a prank. How would you know? But how would you know that they actually were lying? How do you know if somebody creates the imagery that they cheated on you, right? And then they say, oh no, I was actually joking. How would you know they're joking? It doesn't matter whether she cheated or not. At that point, it's irrelevant, because at this point now, all you know is that she cheated on you, and now she's going to turn around and say, no, I didn't really cheat on you. How am I going to believe you? How am I going to believe you? That's why there's no point doing it. So you must just cheat. You know what I mean? I'm going to speed up a little bit because my time is going. All right, cool. The part that's important, though, I wanted to address also too. There is this really important part. I don't know what kind of male friendships that Derek Jaxn has. And I want to show you something which was really intriguing to me. Okay. Hey, Sam. Appreciate you, babe. This part is really intriguing to me. Listen to this part. I want you to just pay attention to this part. Who is calling me at this hour? Why is it calling on both my phones? They must be calling. Oh, they're FaceTiming me. Okay, cool. Look, so look.
Everybody be shading.
Now you woke up and chose violence. Now
people are Samsung phobic, so
we having
here.
a great conversation until you got to go attack Android. Now interview over. I'm sorry.
Triggered you.
Yeah, triggered me. You iPhone people. And so you start doing this content. And so what kind of feedback did you get from your brothers? Like dudes that they like, man, come on, man, what you doing talking about this stuff or this? Like your inner circle, how did they receive it?
Okay, pause. Sorry, I just literally missed it. I missed it for it. There's something that he does just as he asks that question. And it may have been that he was doing that something else, but I found it intriguing, and I think it wasn't on by mistake either, right? Let's just play this.
Dudes that they like, man, come on, man, what you doing talking about this stuff or this? Like your inner circle.
Just as he's asking that question about what do the bros feel about the situation, he rolls his tongue inside of his mouth, right? And I was like, wait. And then when you actually watch it again, and when you actually listen to what he's going to say after, you realize at that point, I don't think he liked the question. When I say don't like the question, not that he didn't like the tourist asking it, but I don't think even the answer he gave was not sufficient. Because I was like, oh, I don't know if the male, and maybe I'm speculating. I don't know. Maybe it is. I'm just speculating. I wonder what kind of bros exist around him. You know what I mean? Just in that moment, like it was interesting to see him kind of do that. Let's listen to this. This is his actual response too, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Well, how did they receive it?
My inner circle knows me. They know, first off, I'm kind of soft. Like, I always like things that most people didn't like.
Okay.
You know, I watch a little bit of sports, but not big on sports. I always love. Whenever we used to freestyle back in the day, I was always on love topics, all that kind of stuff. So,
really?
So his thing is, his inner circle kind of knew that he's always soft. But really and truly, the conversation is really more about the fact that what do they think about your work? So they thought, what, you're just soft? They had no opinions on what you actually do. They had no opinions on the fact that your information is always with women, that you always talking about from the woman's perspective. That for me is very weird. And I'll tell you why it's very weird. Because maybe because as well, having been around enough guys, and growing up amongst the players, I wrote with some guys that were players out here. I mean, they would really play. Okay, they would really play. They taught me a lot about the game and the manipulation and the way to maneuver with women, right? And I didn't agree with them. I really didn't. All right, I really didn't agree with them. But we had a lot of great conversations. And so if now I took the route that he took, and became as blown up as he did, I'm sure some of my guys would be like, bro, they would pull me up and be like, bro, I swear down, you was with us, brother, when you were doing half the stuff you were doing, fam. You was doing the stuff we were doing. Come on, fam. Tell them the truth, bro. Like, you tell them the female perspective, but we know how you actually talk behind the scenes. So it makes me think, what kind of male influences does he have behind the scenes? I'm not saying he doesn't have any. I'm just saying what kind of male influences he have behind the scenes, because I can guarantee you, the way you're telling this interview, you have a male perspective. So it's like someone wants you surely have some friends that would have been like, bro, come on, you know that you don't believe all that stuff you saying, or you always say it from the same position. Anyway, let me leave that there. Okay, cool. Okay, so this was interesting as well. Sorry, let me actually play it out because it's actually a really good part. Sorry.
Yeah. But outside of my inner circle, I got a lot of feedback. That really kind of got with the videos, the comments, and all that kind of stuff. Oh man, but it's just like, bro, true is true. Like, again, like, you just think yourself, back in the worst of your decisions, whatever they may be. If your female cousin, auntie, mama, sister come and ask you a question about a dude, you're gonna keep it straight with them.
100%.
See, that's my issue with him. He's still got this angle that says, if you have your aunties did it coming to you to ask you a question, you still keep it straight. But I'm like, you're not keeping it straight with them because you're only giving them one side perspective. Do you get what I'm saying to you? See, like, when you really are rolling with the guys, you know what I mean? When you roll up with the guys, surely some of that would have influenced the way you look at the world. Like, as you guys know, you've seen the battles on this channel. You know what I mean? Once 2 or 3 guys came on, you can see where my thing lies. As much as I'm trying to be unbiased, I'm a man still. You know what I mean? So, some of my ideas are going to be from a male perspective. It's just what it is, right? So you can see, even at times where on this channel, when you're true to your authentic self, there are going to be arguments even amongst the men. Sometimes me and Sean go back and forth. This season we had Married at First Sight. Me and Sean are going back and forth about Kirsten. I'm saying, Sean, what are you trying to do? Just because you like her? He's saying that you're not actually being open to it. There has to be some back and forth, because there's no way that you can only see it from a woman's perspective. There's just no way. So even that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you see it on this channel where me and Sean will go back, or Trey or JR will go back and we exchange ideas, because in reality, even though we are all men, we still see things differently. So it's like, surely somebody's going to be saying, like, they don't see the way you saw it. You know what I mean? Surely. Why do you still see it from your auntie and seeing his perception? The cape is on too strong, my friend.
You're not gonna tell them, oh, he put his hands on you because you didn't have the food ready when he got home.
Why did he go to a DV perspective? Because that's not all your videos. All your videos are not about DV. Your videos are about relationships. See, when you go to the DV, now I feel like you're being disingenuous because it's nothing to do with DV. Your videos are not all about DV. You have a lot more videos just about relationships in general. That is where you start being disingenuous and pandering. And that's where I start to ask the question, yeah, you're capping, right? You're still capping and you're still holding the cape over you. We can agree on the DV situation, but your videos are not all about domestic violence or about those kind of things. They're about relationships. So why is it all your examples seem to be from the woman's perspective? Why did you automatically go to DV? Because we can't argue with that, right? Because we can't argue that. If you start talking about DV, I can't argue about why do you have the perception that you do. But the reality of the situation is your videos are not about DV.
Home from work, you're gonna say straight like, nah, he put his hands on you, but he probably wouldn't talk out of line to a dude the same size as him. 100%. Cowardly, right? Yep. So that was the perspective. But as people came and piled in,
he's still selling. I can't lie to you. He is selling. This is the coach aspect again. He's selling because he's trying to prove a point about why he does what he does. But the reality of the situation is you can't prove that point, not through what you're saying. And I'll tell you why I can't. Because who's going to argue about the DV situation? Nobody. Well, I mean, there's some crazy men out there that do, but no one's arguing about that point. Why is it you're still trying to appease the woman audience? You're still performing right now, sir, in this moment, because you're talking about how that as men, that people don't need to be arguing about the DV situation. And it's like, well, okay, well, what about relationships in general?
And again, I never branded myself because it wasn't about no brand. I just wanted to do what I was doing full time. So
you wouldn't even know it at that point. You don't know how this could grow.
That was not a thing whenever I first started. Right. It was like maybe two guys. I think one or two guys that was doing it professionally.
Who was doing that professionally?
I want to say Tony Gaskin.
Okay, so let me move it forward. Okay. Let's go to this part.
Right, as a couple until Marley was just about here, and that was in 2016, into 2016. So yeah, she went and did her thing, and from my understanding, not just single like we smashing, but she was on dates with other guys. Nothing wrong with that, and of course I was doing what I was doing.
So is this her comedy when she says, me and the girl, she said, I knew it, I like having sex with them. We passing each other, men and women passing each other in the hallways. Is that comedy or for real?
I don't know why she said that, because I told her a story about two girls passing each other. There's no way in heck I would have her, because I know her temper. You know what I'm saying? I never seen her fight, but I know her temper. She gonna make stuff uncomfortable. No way I would have her around any other woman that I was actually smashing. But there was a situation I told her. So maybe I think as she was talking like us, as everybody who's, sleeping with Derek. But yeah, there were two girls that passed each other up on the staircase. Because I never lied. Like, this is what I'm on. I'm single now. I'm deep in my whole phase. And I'm going to win All-American honors in it.
See, that's.
And you know what? I can't be mad at that. He was very honest about that. Just going to be honest. See, he was being very honest here. That's what I need consistently. See, that honesty was probably the most honest he's been. I'm going to win honors. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Why can't you use that? Why can't you use that particular honesty throughout the course of when you're answering some of these questions? That's what I feel he lacks. Because in that moment, you're very honest about it, right? I'm in my whole phase. I tell everybody the truth. Yeah, I'm going to win honors in it. You're being honest there. I need that same consistency. That's the rotation, yeah. That's the rotation. I need that consistency. You know what I mean? We need that consistency. All right, cool. Let me see. I want to go to the next part. I think the part that confused this next part was kind of intriguing was about the baby situation. So
same. And I'm kind of freaky. So I was recording a lot of stuff. Yeah, I was just recording a lot of stuff. I like to see it, whatever. I like that better than porn, to TMI. But
you say you like to see yourself.
I like to see myself. I'm inspired by me in that regard. So she saw all of that. And regardless of how she found it, man, I just was like, it's like, what the F am I thinking? She's pregnant and she had to see that. Single or not. she's pregnant and she had to see that.
Let me ask you this. This is something that she said on the podcast or before, whatever. She's been pregnant by you multiple times and didn't conceive, right?
Yeah. We didn't carry.
Right.
Now, I ain't gonna lie to you. At this point, I ain't really feel it. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, this is where I feel like the emotion hasn't hit. The reality and the consequence hasn't really hit. Because even when he's describing about, maybe I should have had more. I already told you, listen, if I'm rotation, I'm gonna tell you straight. You know what? Maybe I could have done it better, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really see that. I don't really see it that way. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I can see why it looks like that from your perspective. But anyway, now he says obviously like his head went down. He was like, I probably should have done better in that position with the pregnancy stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm feeling it in terms of the tone. And I'm not saying that you can't tell the truth. I'm saying the tone, the way he said it, it was still a little bit actory for me, a bit like you're acting.
Didn't carry. And so
even the head nod, see that, even the body language aspect, the responses, like.
Let me ask you this. This is something that she said on the podcast or before,
I don't
whatever.
feel a sense of remorse.
She's been pregnant by you multiple times and didn't conceive, right?
Yeah.
Yep, head down.
Yeah. We didn't carry.
Right, it didn't carry. And so when you had Marley, that's the first child?
That was the first time we actually had. We had gotten pregnant prior to that in North Carolina, but she miscarried. And then before that were abortions.
Definitely. Had my condolences, totally. And so what made you decide, or y'all decide, to give birth to Marley?
Well, earlier in our years, we were just kids and we felt like we're being irresponsible if we bring them in, really thinking about ourselves at that time, not thinking about, the God factor or anything like that. So by the time we got to North Carolina, it did take a toll on her, even those experiences. And, for me, my whole stance was, even though we created this together, it's your body that has to carry it. So whatever you want, I'm on. And in North Carolina, we wanted it.
Now, my thing is, yeah, there's several abortions. I'm gonna address that in a second. Now, here's my thing about Derek Jaxn. There's one thing that I need him to do. Okay, there's one thing I need the therapist to get into him. I need the therapist to get him. One thing Derek Jaxn's gonna do is promote how good his behavior is. Okay. So let me be real with you. Even in the midst of this situation, he goes, one thing I'm going to definitely promote is about women, it's their body doing what they want. It's a tagline. And I'd rather he just didn't say anything at all. Because I'm going to be honest with you, most of us men, when it's inadequate in terms of our time, shoot, we maybe not everybody says it, but we ain't feeling it. We don't want you to have it. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to lie to y'all and pretend and be like, yo, I don't want to ever go down that road, but I'm just going to be real with you. I've had some plan B situations and I've been like, yo, plan B quick. Let's get it done. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to be real with you. I'm not going to lie to you, Like, so I'm not gonna try to glad that it's your body. I know it's your body, but I'm gonna tell you this straight. I don't want it. So what we gonna do? Because we need to get it sorted. You know what I mean? Yeah, let's not play that game. Let's not play that game. It's never gonna be, and it's never that clean, because in reality, when you're not ready, you're not ready. But in that moment, he tries to sell us that little tagline. Okay, that little tagline, of like, it's your body, you do whatever you want to do with it. And I'm like, you know what I mean? I was like, it's your body, you can do whatever you want. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like a tagline. I'm not saying that you don't believe, I'm not saying that's not the truth, but I'm just saying it just sounds taggish. It sounds like the politician that's telling you, it's a woman's body, she can do whatever she wants to do, and da-da-da. And like and I'm like, listen, whatever you believe is up to you what you believe. But I'm just saying, it just sounds very tagline-ish. Now, I think he wanted kids, personally. I think he wanted kids too. That's why he went in raw. I think he wanted kids too. Okay, by the way he talks about the situation, I think he wanted kids too. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think both of these people wanted kids. I think both of these people probably wanted to use a child to change the scenario. Yeah. I think both of them wanted to use a child, because I've been there. I remember being 18 and telling a girl, maybe, my girlfriend at the time, like, yo, maybe we should have a kid, in the hopes that having a kid will change your scenario of why things are not going well in a relationship, or getting a tattoo, or doing something very wild in the hope that it will change the relationship. Now, thank God that both of us had a little bit more sense than the stupidity that was coming out of our mouths. But I can remember at that time thinking to ourselves, maybe we've had a kid, maybe things will change. Or if we get married, that will change something. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe I'm being harsh on him, but maybe actually thinking a child will change their scenario. You know what I mean? So just saying.
But she miscarried. So when Marley came about, it was like, oh, it's game time if we can actually carry. It really wasn't even much of a discussion. The moment we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, but the moment she let me know, I told her, you ain't got to do this alone. Like, I hope you know I'm all in. And I was. Every doctor's visit, I didn't miss one. I told her she didn't have to work, and I was going to take on every bill, and I did. So she didn't work from that point until, all the way honestly, until we divorced, or I filed for divorce. But that was my whole mindset.
You said all in was we're in a relationship at this point? Or
no, when I mean all in, I was still not thinking we could work in a relationship. I also had
to be a present father.
I'm absolutely.
Yeah.
Because probably more than I wanted to be a husband, man. I wanted a family. I wanted to be a dad.
Because of what you were lacking growing up.
That was my major pain point.
Yep.
I don't have my daddy. And I remember vividly asking the questions to my mama. She's trying to answer best she can, but feeling away when I saw this. And then I'm like, one day when I get my baby boy, I'm not going to miss anything. So when she told me that, I really got excited, but I also wanted her to know she had my full support regardless of our relationship status. So every gynecologist, I went to the little classes to teach you how to massage her while she on that Pilates ball.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, it's game time. I bought books, but we had not sealed up the relationship exactly. So some time passed, and I think we had a little argument where she was like, if you don't be with me or something like that,
I'm not gonna let you be your kid.
I'm gonna take the baby off the grid.
Yep.
And it shook me until I had to talk about that again, because my mind is, oh, she would never do something like that.
Yep.
But she was like, oh,
I'm gonna take the baby, move with my mom.
Yeah, but she said, I'll be off the grid where you can never even.
And this actually did happen, because I think she mentioned it on the interview, on her interview. So, this actually did happen as well. So, that's a lot. That's a lot right there. I think he wanted to be a father, but like he said, he didn't want to be necessarily a husband. So in reality, the situation probably didn't want her, probably wanted a child. Yeah. He's probably thinking, I can have my kid and I can try to change what I had gone through. You know what I mean? So yeah, I can definitely see that too. That he would have been excited about her having a child.
Reach me. And I was like, okay, I never heard that before. But anyway, fast forward, it stuck with me, even though she said I was just talking, I was just upset, my pregnancy emotions. But I also, whenever she had found all that stuff, the videos and stuff, I was just like, man, you got to tighten up. You can't be on this. I don't like the example I'm about to set. At this point, I'm in my career. I'm talking about family values. So I was like, all right, time to cut the whole phase short, time to lock in. And I made my mind up like, I'm going to propose to her. I'm gonna give her some time to heal everything or whatever. But New Year's Eve, I planned it all out, started paying for the ring. I'm like, it's game time.
Why? Why'd you decide to marry her? What? Because at that point, was it led because of the pregnancy? Was it led out of true love for this woman? Is it led for, like, what initiated and made you say, this is my world that I'm in. I have this platform where I'm sharing this. I have this child coming, but I want to go ahead and marry this woman.
The platform impact was the least of it. With her in that time, even though she was pregnant, she actually was helping me with work a lot. My business was picking up, going crazy. This is the first time, I think it was the first year I made 7 figures. And I'm in my 20s or whatever. And I'm like, I can trust her.
Yeah.
She was with me when I was broke, whatever. It didn't happen over the years, but at least I know she doesn't want me for my money.
Yep.
And she's carrying my baby while helping me at work. If we can make the relationship work, I want to try. And this time, knowing what I know, because now I'm teaching the masses, I'm like, I know how I need to come. I need to secure her in terms of my intentions, and that's where the marriage part comes in.
Yep.
So she knows I'm not playing no games. I got now the financial pieces there, so she already ain't working. But before Soft Life was cool, I was like, I don't want her to have to worry about anything financially.
Yep, she said that.
I'm all in.
Financially, she was good.
Yeah, financially, because another pain point was I saw my mama struggling, and I always felt like if a man was here, she wouldn't be, how she is, tired all the time and gone all the time. So 2 things I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to be a present father, and I wanted to take some weight off of my lady's shoulders. And from there, I was like, whatever. I think if I come in and I do my part, the rest is going to fall into place. But it don't work like that. I see, and I had to learn this in therapy, man. Like, as much as we know we cultivate a version of a woman, she exists outside of us.
Oh, of course.
Well, it's easy to say that, but then when you in it and you know that you're doing this, and this, it wasn't just financial. If she called me at any time, I don't care. If she wanted me to run to a place and get her some food at 1 or 2 in the morning, it's like,
yeah, brother's still performing. Look, all I heard, you know, in the last, you know, like I would say, all I heard in the last like 2 minutes there was about how great he's been. Now, I'm not saying he can't talk about how great he is. Again, I'm just hearing him. They're still selling. You know, there's moments where you're still selling the snake oil. So it's like, even there, when he's talking about it, you know, how great he is, you know, whatever she needed, I've secured her, I've done this, I've done that, It's not, it's got that tinge of arrogance. So rather than it being like, hey, you know, I wanted to make sure that she was comfortable, I wanted to make sure she was secure, I wanted to make sure this is happening. So I try to put things in place to right? It's like, no, I did this, I did that, I did it. And this time he don't forget. On this occasion, he doesn't think. If you notice, a lot of the times when he's describing some of the issues that he has, I think this argument happened. I think this happened. I think on this one, he didn't say I think. He said, hey, I made sure I put this in place, this in place, this in place, this in place. I made sure I put all these things in place to make sure she was good.
Whatever. And I'm sitting there building that into, that's going to produce a certain version of her. But that mindset didn't allow her to experience remaining trust issues with me. Postpartum depression.
Oh, yeah.
All of these different things, they ain't got nothing to do with how I'm treating her.
Right.
So without considering that, man, I personalized everything going into even the engagement and on forward, man. So, yeah, that was my thinking. Like, we're going to make this work no matter what. But we still had not properly set the foundation, reset it from all the years past.
And when you decide to marry her, you made up in your mind, I am done with all these women. This is my wife. I'm going to be an honest man that covers my wife properly. When
I made up to just get engaged with her, I had burnt all the bridges.
Oh, you did?
But the thing was, with me, my boundaries were loose at best.
So boundaries I had bad boundaries when I was married. So I just want to hear what you consider bad boundaries.
So I may have a woman that I slept with before, even in our singleness. I may have a woman I had sexual history with before, and I have no problem carrying on small talk. That's one boundary.
Right.
Going out where
So basically, what happened here, what man's saying is this, yeah? I decided to not be with the hoes anymore, but I burnt them bridges. But I ain't burn it good enough, because in reality, I had to keep them by the side, because if this girl decides to wild out, I need to have my safe space. Right? So I'm saying at this point in time that what he was really saying is, hey, I was burning my bridges. I burnt them. But in reality, it's not actually burning the bridges. In reality, you created some distance, but you are still available just in case these people, just in case anything went wrong. You still had your safety net. So you actually didn't burn the bridges. You started burning a little bit of it, but you said, hey, just in case I got to cross this bridge again, let me leave the bridge intact. Let me not touch it just yet. Right? So there was no bridge burn. Because, of course, you can say that there was poor boundaries, but those women coming back in contact with you, if you've burnt those bridges, why are they coming back in contact with you? If I tell a girl, listen, hey, let me let you know, I'm now getting married. I want nothing to do with you, blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying to you? Why are you coming back? And then when you come back, okay, I'm still talking to you loosely. Well, did you really burn the bridges then?
I knew somebody else was going to be there. That's a loose boundary. It's like, somebody that you had sexual history with is at this place. There was one situation where a girl that I had some sexual history with, she did some work down in Atlanta, so she was flying in way before she had asked me to give her some books or something like that. And I kept that commitment to meet up with her and give her books instead of telling her or just telling her, no, things have changed since the last time. So these are the types of things, and I didn't know this until way later.
So how has he burnt the bridge? Listen to what he just said. That's why I'm saying he's not telling the full truth, right? That's not burning the bridge. If the girl that you last had a conversation with, right, is saying now when she comes into town, hey, that book that you want, I want to come and get that book, or whatever, right? have you really burnt the bridge? Did you actually have a conversation with her? Because she didn't need to meet you up. She could have just said, hey, just send me the book. Right? But you ain't burned the bridge. Okay? So in reality, you haven't really burnt the bridge. You've kept the safety net still going. You left it open. So at what point are you burning the actual bridge? Here's the reality. He likes to flirt. It validates him, right? And I'll keep it a buck and keep it real because, like I said, I remember back in the day, when I was dating one of my girls, you know, I didn't necessarily do anything with the other girls that I was kind of flirting with. I just like to flirt. It validated me. I didn't need to do anything with other women. You know what I mean? I just like the fact that I could flirt with other women. That was one of the things that validated me. It gave me a sense of power. It gave me a sense of validation. It made me feel like I was, you know, a top dog. And because of my insecurities, I had to have them there. So whilst I got back with my girl, whatever, I'm still with my girl, I'm still flirting with other women because I just like the fact that I can. But the reality of the situation is if I really burnt the bridge, I won't be flirting there at all. So that person that flew over to come and get a book, there's nothing really wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But you didn't. I'm guessing you didn't tell Danae, and Danae didn't come with you either. You know, that's very true though, Lulu. I didn't take that into consideration. That's a good point. The hey big head is a real thing. You ain't lied. You ain't lied. No, you're telling the truth there. I haven't thought about that. The hey big head is also a real thing. That's very true. So let me have some grace in that area. That's very true. That's a good point. You know, that's a good point.
Danae would see or have whatever and have problem with.
Of course.
Because even if a girl is hitting me up saying, D, you know, my mom loves your stuff. My colleague, you know, is a fan of yours. And I reply like, oh man, thanks. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate that. You know, hope everything is well. Danae sees that at the corner of her eye when she goes to my phone and says he's talking to women.
Yeah.
So for somebody who hasn't healed, it's triggering all over again. But in my mind, I ain't smashing these women. For any woman that I'm even having a loose boundary with, I'm curving women 10 times more. So on into engagement, that was the first time I was like, okay, I don't know if I can do this. Because at this point, man, I done got her books.
Yeah, brother, stop that. Cap. This is the part where it's cap. Can't lie to you. This part where it's cap. So much cap. Okay, all right. That's cap. All right, cap. Unless I says she ain't flirting with me no more. Listen, that's your business. I ain't burning that bridge. You can burn it, but I'm gonna build another bridge back over there. So you can burn it, but I'm gonna build another bridge back over there. But yeah, no, it's cap because in all reality, in the situation, when you look at what he just said, oh, that Danae would see some of these messages and think that I'm actually trying to do something. But I'll be curving women left, right, and center. Negro, please. Please. Okay? All right? Now I'm allergic to the crap that you just said. See what I'm saying? Like, I literally had a reaction to the rubbish you just saying. Okay? Curve what? You weren't curving anything. You know what I'm saying? You're still talking to these ladies. So you weren't curving anything. Now, I'm not saying you didn't curve at all. No, don't get it twisted. You curved. No, don't get it twisted. You would have curved some, but you didn't curve all. Let's not pretend. All right? Let's not pretend like you curved all. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
At a therapist because I'm not getting the version of her I think I'm supposed to get. I'm faithful. I'm provisional. I'm still asking about what we can do to fill up her love tank, but she's hostile. She's closed off. At times, she's emasculating with how she talks. Of course, the sex is not even close to being there. And then she said, well, we need to go to counseling.
That's why I'm glad you went right there. Then what happened in counseling? Because that's where she said she revealed, this is before y'all got married, right? And this is where she revealed I had been raped before, right? In this counseling session, that this happened. When did she mention that she had saw stuff in your phone and all that stuff? Was that in this counseling session?
No, she already had told me in real life she had saw the stuff, but this is where we're going to deep dive through all those things. And at first I was reluctant. I ain't gonna lie to you, man, because it's like, why is the relationship only in trouble when you're unhappy? Why is it that I've been telling you stuff? I'm not getting what I need. I'm paying for personal trainers to help fix your self-esteem so you can get back in shape. I'm paying for the therapist, the books, the podcast. I'm doing everything, rubbing feet, backs, everything. And it's not enough. And I'm hurt by that. But then whenever you feel upset, Now you're ready to save the relationship. So I was reluctant at first, I ain't gonna lie. But I'm like, I'm engaged now. We got a little baby. Let's do this. Let's go.
Was already born at this point?
Yeah, Marley's already there. She was there like maybe 8 months old. She's very young. And then the counselor, and this was kind of really made it tough for me to continue on, he immediately went into rescuer mode. Danae is a lot better at accessing her emotions, especially painful emotions, than I ever have been. So me and her together, I'm big and I'm extroverted. I can talk a little bit. She's a soft voice and, just look like she just been held in a basement or something like that. So we going and talking, and immediately she goes in about all the hard things I had done in a previous relationship. So me, ignorant, I never considered all the previous, because I'm like, hold on, in between time we single, you've been dating. I'm thinking especially because she got her lick back. She got her lick back. And I mean, call me what you want, but I still feel to an extent. Once you get your lick back and you even the score, I don't want to, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like you went in one of the guys, and I don't know if she slept with him.
Pause. Yo. Hey, y'all hear he slipped up? Y'all hear he slipped up? He is definitely performing. Let me tell you something. He slipped up. He slipped up big time. Let me tell you why he slipped up. I'm going to play it for you again. Yeah? Just listen. You're going to hear him slip up, because what he really wants to say is not what he's saying. He's still performing. Come on, Derek. Derek, I need you to wake the frick up. Derek on hour number 5, can you please wake the frick up? You should be sleeping on the job. Derek, I need you to wake the frick up. Okay? I need you to wake the frick up. Okay? All right, because you wanted to say what you really felt you wanted to say, and you stopped yourself from saying it, right? That's the real Derek Jaxn. That's what I need. The stuff that you're giving me is bull crap. I need the real Derek Jaxn, how you really feel, because it's still painting it very beautifully, but you ain't being real about how you feeling, right? Up until this point, he slips out. Listen to this. This is again. I'm gonna play it slightly back. This is my last thing points anyway. So let's hopefully get it to the right point. Okay.
Been dating. I'm thinking especially because she got her lick back. She got her lick back. And I mean, call me what you want, but I still feel to an extent. Once you get your lick back and you even the score, I don't want to. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like you went.
What are you gonna say? What did you want to say? Especially when you get your lip back. I don't want to hear that. What? Wait. I have to remember what audience I'm talking to. Sorry, I supposed to give a lip back. I don't want to. Oh, no, hold on. And let me just, and I just think it's not great that you're still performing, sir. Wake the frick up. Wake up. You are still performing. You are still performing, which means that you are not telling me the full truth. And if you're not giving us the full truth, it means you're still holding some things back. And if you're still holding some things back, more than likely, right? That's also how you communicate in a relationship too. So she's not the only one who's got communication issues. You got them too, right? You got them too. I was like, no, you want to say something, say it. But you wanted to stop yourself, right? You stopped yourself instead of just going for it and going, you know what? I don't want to hear nothing you got to say. But instead, you try to play it like, again, you want to be this nice guy who's always liked. The problem is you cap in. And this is not you. This is why we don't believe. This is why people don't thought you're pandering, because you're playing this nice guy whilst you're doing your reviews and your videos, and you're not being real. Just be honest. She got her lick back, and you expect her to shut the frick up after. I agree. If you got your lick back and I got my lick back, shut the frick up. I get it. Say it. Why don't you want to say it? Oh, because you're scared. You still want to perform. Just say it. That's the truth. You want to tell her to shut the frick up. You had your lick back. I got my lick back. You know what I mean? We good. End of. But you stopped yourself because you wanted to perform.
One of the guys, and I don't know if she slept with him or nothing like that, but it was one of my homies. She knowingly did this. I did it to make you upset. She went for guitar lessons and learned everything she needed to know in one night. I was like, okay, well, my chest hurt just like your chest.
Learned everything you needed to know in one night.
But I'm like, you wasn't bad for doing that. Anybody would be, first off, on time, and then secondly, to make me, you know what I'm saying? My chest hurt just like hers did.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So when we in this counseling session, back to here, 2017, she going
pause. Why is it in this position? And note it. I want you to note something as well. And I'm sure you guys picked up already. If you notice as well, when he's describing what she does, he had the memory recall is amazing. Can't even lie to you, bro. When he remembers what she does, the memory recall that I think goes out the window, right? The I thinks go out the window, right? The I think went out the window. When it comes to the details, when it comes to describing something that she has, yeah, you don't say I think that was maybe. But when you feel like you may be incriminated or you may look bad in it, then you're like, I think that could have been like 2017. I think that's when I don't really remember the whole conversation. But this one, you remember straight, like you giving us all the details and you went back into it and you went straight into it. There's no I think. I'm like, okay. You know what you're saying.
I'm in the present of all the things I've been doing. It's the first time I've come this hard for the relationship ever. And, financial aspect and the security. I'm the guy down on one knee. I can't do no more than what I've done. But she talking about me like I'm a dog. And the only thing that exists is all the negatives. I ain't done a single positive, not sack. So he not only allowed her to say that, he said, now you got this hard voice with me already. I ain't even said nothing. You don't say a word. Not until y'all come back on another session. So it was tough because I'm like, man, my feelings are obsolete the moment that she talked. And she crying and everything. So I get it. But I'm like, man, this ain't it for somebody who already deals with shame wounds, abandonment, all this other stuff. We did do like one more session. And in that time, I found out she was texting a personal trainer under a woman's name. She had been searching them on Facebook. She had lied about some other stuff. So after that, bro, she went and said some things that weren't true in the counseling. I didn't want to go no more.
You just say, I'm not going.
No, because I felt like, you're not even approaching this genuinely. And at this point, I was questioning if I wanted to go through with the marriage.
I was about to ask you. So y'all still, but you didn't end the engagement.
Didn't end anything. A big repetitive pattern of I'm pissed, I'm detached, I'm mentally checking out. I'm going to show up as the worst version of myself, but I ain't letting you go. So that's a little bit of ego. It's a little bit of abandonment wounds, whatever you want to call it. We both didn't let each other go, no matter how much we was detaching.
That's interesting. I want to stop part one right here because when we come back, I want to talk about when y'all decide to go through with the marriage and then what happened and what got us here at this point. Listen, make sure you tune in to.
Listen, you know what? He got a bit of petty in him. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know that already. Like, I do think that he got a little petty in him. He's got a little bit of petty. And his energy here is really interesting because it's not so sweet. You know what I mean? It's not so sweet here. So it's interesting in the situation that the energy is not so sweet in that environment. And it's less curated. It's more about, he really did not like that counselor. You know what I mean? He would not like that counselor. So, hey, I don't know. We're gonna get part 2 going tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll drop part 2. But listen, I said I was gonna be for an hour. I'm here for 2. But we done. I'm gonna go. Okay, time up. I appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you guys very soon. And leave a comment down below if you enjoyed this and you saw something that maybe I didn't see. Point it out down below. We appreciate you guys. All right. So like, share, subscribe, and click on that bell button. Okay. Click on that bell button. All right. Baby, 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 baby. I pray for someone like you. And
I'm leaving here with something. You know what I mean? I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something.
Someone said open panel. I'll probably do it Friday. Probably do it on Friday. So that you guys can have open panel. Once it's all done, then yeah, we will look Friday. You know what I mean? So that's the whole interview pretty much as well. So guys, I appreciate a lot. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you again very, very soon. Okay. All right.